Welcome to another payment gateway integration video. In this video, I'm going to take you through the card on file framework using Cybersource Payment Gateway. The card on file framework is what almost every app that you use all the time does to make your payment experience very convenient. It's basically any app with a wallet where you add your card just one time, they validate if the card is working. If the card is working, then when you transact within that app, the merchant is able to charge your card without you having to click pay. For example, you add your card to Netflix and then every month they charge you using your saved card. Or Uber, you add your card in Uber and then when you get off the ride, you get charged without you having to click pay. Or you pre-order something and they charge you on your saved card when that stock is available. So it's a framework that makes life so easy for users. Could be a bit tricky for merchants to implement, but hopefully with this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to implement it easily with Cybersource Payment Gateway. And here on the right side, I have a demo for you. I'm using a different example from all the examples that I used. Here we have the use case of a wallet app. It's more specifically an investment wallet app. You add your card, you buy stocks, sell stocks, withdraw, add cash, and so on. So you add your card number and then you hit add to wallet, and the merchant tells you here that they're going to charge a little amount so that they check if your card is valid. Add to wallet. Now they're going to authenticate this card using 3D Secure to make sure that you're actually the card holder. I'm not going to go into how 3D Secure is implemented with Cybersource Gateway here because I've covered it in a previous video. Check the description box below. Same with the card input, I also covered that in another video. Also check the description box below. Anyways, you complete your 3D Secure authentication, card gets added to the merchant website, and the next time you visit, your card will be saved and you can use it to initiate transaction within this merchant app. And now I could use my saved card to top up my wallet like this. Top up wallet, 120. Okay, it pays using my saved token. And just so you can see, here my user database entry, I'm storing the card and file token and the previous transaction ID, the first one where I added the card so that I send it in my subsequent transactions, in my merchant initiated transaction. Now let me show you the APIs that I use to implement this. All right, so switching over to Postman, here are the APIs that I use and what I exactly changed. So all what I changed to enable this is that here in my Cybersource payment request, let me zoom in so you can see, under processing information, there's an indicator here that says authorization options. Initiator tells the API who's initiating this transaction. In the first one, where they add the card into the wallet, it has to be always customer. And you'll have to say that card stored in file, true. And here, under action list, you can set this flag to tokenize the card that the user is adding into the wallet after the payment is successful. And here you choose what information to tokenize: the customer information, the card information, the billing address, and so on. I've covered this all in another video for token management service with Cybersource. Link also in the description box below. You got the billing information, the amount. Here we're not going to set it to 100. For when the customer adds their card into a wallet and you want to validate the card, the amount has to always be like something very small, like $1. And the payment information, for us, it's not going to look like this. It's going to look like a transient token, just like from one of our previous videos, because we're using the microform solution. Here's an example of a transient token. All right, so that's for the CIT. Now for the MIT, merchant initiated transactions, this is what you use to initiate a transaction using a saved card as a merchant. I'm the merchant. I'm the one who's triggering the transaction, not the card holder. They're not clicking pay. I'm doing it where it's applicable to my use case. So here, what you need to set under commerce indicator, you need to set this to recurring. And these are fields that are related to account funding use case, which I covered in a previous video. Sorry, I'm mentioning so many videos. Link also in the description box below for the account funding transaction. But here at the initiator type, instead of customer, you'll say merchant. And here you'll say stored credentials used, true. And here under merchant initiated transaction, you're going to indicate the reason as 7, which indicates recurring, and you will reference the previous network transaction ID that you got from your previous CIT transaction. Go back to the CIT. Here, let me show you where you can find that. You will find that in the response of the payment transaction. Here, network transaction ID. So you would want to store that in your database and include it in your MIT to link the two transactions together. Back to the MIT, and that's pretty much it. And the last difference here is that under payment information customer, I'm using the customer token ID as my payment instrument instead of using the PAN. I got this also from my CIT because here in my CIT, I'm paying and I'm also requesting a token. So when this request is successful, Here, my response will be a token returned, and this is what I can use to pay next time instead of storing the card number, making sure that we're PCI DSS compliant. All right, so let's go ahead and implement this with starting with a new project from the scratch and just do the APIs again that we used for this project. Okay, so we're starting with a project that doesn't have all those CIT and MIT APIs implemented. Let me show you what happens when I try to pay with this dummy app. So right now what this does is that it's going to take your card information and authenticate the card, and then it will just spit out the transient token that the microform used, that the microform generated. It won't do any payment yet, and we can't do top-ups. So this is an example of a transient token. There you go. Here, this big string over here on the right side, this is what I used to pay. This contains the card information, and now the app is going to do what it do to authenticate the card that was used inside that token. So once you complete this, you're going to get some authentication data that you could use in your CIT request. Here, authentication complete, and you'll get this response here, and here you're going to have indicator that tells you that the transaction is fully authenticated. There it is. It says here authentication successful, and then you're going to get these values, XID, and most importantly, the CAVV. What we're going to do is that we're going to include those in our CIT over here. And it'll be like this. I'll copy this and I'll put it over here under consumer authentication information, UCAF authentication data, and I just put the CAVV here. And then for our payment method, we need to use the transient token. So instead of doing this, we'll do this instead, and take that big string that we got over here and use it to pay in the API request like this. All right, now we're ready to send this. Send it, and the payment is successful, authenticated payment, and this is the token that we get back. Now, after we do this, we need to reverse the payment so that we return to the user that $1 that we charged to validate the card. So to do that, here under links, you'll see there's a link, an endpoint for auth reversal, and this is what you're going to use in your second request. So you just go to the second request and gonna put that there like this. Make sure that the amount is the same. Here I did $100, so here it has to be also $100. Send it, and then the response will be reversed, meaning that the customer, when they see their phone, they're gonna get an SMS or a message that says the card has been, the $1 has been refunded. Okay, so this is gonna be our first step. Will be to make an endpoint that does both this, that take in the transient token, create an authenticated payment, and then reverse it. Okay, so we go here to our code. We can initiate our values. So this is just my credentials. Don't hard code them again like I say in every video, but I'm just doing it for demo's sake. So these are my credentials. I need to collect from the client side the amount, the currency token, which is the transient token over here on the right, the CAVV, and the XID, which is returned in this object over here. And I need to initialize a variable that's going to contain that auth reversal path that I showed you earlier in the Postman, which is this one over here. Okay, so you do that, now you can implement the API. This is how you implement the API. So I get all that data, just like in the Postman request, and put all that together. I use this library, the create header methods within this library, Cybersource auth, to create my headers for the request, which will make your life much easier when you authenticate the request. And then I send the request. And then from the response, I'm gonna store that auth reversal URL, and I need to store the network transaction ID and the token, like I mentioned earlier. So what I do here is that I store them, I get my token, and then I get my network transaction ID, and I store them in my database for the user, against the user. Ends up looking like this, because I'm going to use those in my subsequent transaction, my merchant initiated transactions. All right, so that's for the payment. Now we got to do the reversal. This is how you reverse the charge. I just took the same API in Postman and pasted it here. We'll start from here. You need to create a reference number for that request. Make sure that the amount matches. So I'm using the same amount from the beginning that I collected from the client side. Headers, send the request, and then if the reversal is successful, respond with success. If it's not successful, also respond with success to the client side. The reason being is that it's just the $1. So even if it doesn't get reversed, it will get reversed eventually because we only held that amount. We didn't capture it. We only just pre-authorizing that $1. And worst case scenario, if they say, come on, refund my $1 now, not later, then you could just go log into your Cybersource portal and manually reverse that transaction. But this over here is good enough to make sure that we don't break it. Okay, so that's the auth and reversal. Now let's go ahead and test this, make sure it's working before we deploy it. There you go, auth and reversal. I'm gonna need a new transient token. So let me go ahead and generate one real quick. To do that, I'm gonna need to delete the save token. This is my transient token. I'll put it here, and I'll just complete the authentication so that this works. All right, cool. Authentication successful. Copy your XID and CVV over. Send this. Getting an error. Didn't get the function name right. Oops, I forgot to install Node modules. So let's fix that. There you go. Now it should work. Try again. Payment and reversal. There you go, card added. We check the database, the token is there, and the previous transaction ID is there. That's for adding the card. Now let's create now to display the card over here, we need to create a method that just gets the token from the database and return it to the client side. So something just to fetch this. Here I have a placeholder function for that. I'm just gonna get it to my database like this. So what I'm just simply doing is that I'm getting my user document, and if the user document is not there, I just return user not found 404. Then I check if that user has a card in file, and if he doesn't, I return 404, no card in file. And then I do the same thing. This is the path. This is the customer token, just sits here. I'm getting that from my database again, setting up my headers, send the request, and then I return the payload back to the client side. Let's go ahead and test that. There you go. This is my token, this is my card details, expiry, this is my billing address, which is also tokenized with the token. My previous transaction ID that ties the customer initiated transaction with the merchant initiated transactions. All right, now we need to implement the top-up merchant initiated transaction endpoint. We're gonna do it here. For that, we're gonna implement it with this API sample over here. We're gonna need to collect from the client side the amount and the currency, that's it. And the token, we're gonna get it from the database. That will be done simply like this. It just like the payment request we did before, but like what I mentioned, you get the amount, the currency from the client side, you generate a random reference for this payment request, and then you get the card and file and the previous transaction ID from the user database. Again, found here, stored here. Then reference goes here, previous transaction ID goes here, amount currency, and then this is the token, the customer token here. And this is some information, optional information about the payment request, and that's it. Now let's go ahead and test this. Send the request, and we get a successful payment response using the token. This is a merchant initiated payment. All right, cool. Now we can deploy all of those to production and use them in our client side and do the demo again. Okay, the deploy is successful. Now I'm back at the React front-end code. Let me show you what's going on here. It's pretty simple. So for the wallet add for the first time, the authentication takes its natural course, and then at the end of it, after the authentication is complete, this send payment method gets called. It gets called here. When the challenge is done, this method gets called in the auth data using the object that you see over here, this object. It says authentication successful and has the CVV and all that. Gets passed here to this send payment method. And all this does is just, it passes that information to my server along with the amount and the currency and the transient token, and request the add card operation. So that's what it does. This is how we add the card. Now, how the card is retrieved, this happens over here inside this useEffect method. When the page loads for the first time, get customer will be called, and all this does is that it calls this method, get card and file. It gets that from the server, and that's set as the default card. But actually, we should wrap this inside a trash catch instead, in case it returns a 404 if there's no user or no card. Let's do that real quick. There you go, better. So I call this to check if there's a card and file as soon as the app appears. And for the top up, this is the button. It calls this method, handle top up, and this is just another API call that collects the amount from you, how much you want to top up, and then sends it over in this API request amount USD. And once the top up is authorized, I update the balance, and I tell you that you topped up your wallet with $100, whatever. So let's delete this card number over here so we can start an end-to-end test again. Delete the previous transaction ID, delete the card and file, refresh. Now let's go ahead and add a card. 3DS. This is the challenge. 1, 2, 3, 4. Submit. Card is authenticated. A payment request is sent. and then a reversal is sent. Here we get a response that says card added. And then when we refresh, we're not gonna see that form anymore because we have a card in file. There you go. Because now it receives the card information using the token get call. Then when you hit top up wallet, you do 120, for example, $120, hit OK. It's gonna use the merchant initiated transaction API to top up the wallet. There you go. And that's how to implement the card and file framework using Cybersource Gateway. This is a very simple introduction to this framework. We're going to be releasing more and more episodes to go into different use cases of the card and file framework, such as hotels, such as no-show, such as auto top-ups, and so on. So stay tuned for that. And if you like this video, hit like, subscribe, and leave your questions down below in the comment section. And I'll link everything that I mentioned, the videos that I referred to, in the description box below. And if you want to get access to the full source code of this video and support the channel, check out the Patreon link in the description box below. And see you and have a good day. Bye-bye.